All right. Welcome back. Today we're talking with Slackerpower, aka Mattland, my good buddy. I've known him for many years now. We're going to be talking about something near and dear to us. Well, not just this, but the X-Men. Considering how you're a fan of the X-Men, Matt, I am. I needed to know one major thing. What do you hate most about the X-Men?
Man, that's a hard question. I wish I would have had like a night to think about this.
Ah, well, it's like to me the major thing I think about when I hate what I hate about the X-Men is when they focus too much on the aspect of, oh, they're an allegory for whether it be gay or minorities like that. They focus too much on that, and it's where instead of being like man has rejected the deity, has rejected God, God is dead, long live the mutants. It's like the new
I definitely
Titans.
definitely would I definitely want more story driven stuff in that aspect, and not
Like,
stuff that's completely governed by, soapbox stuff.
yeah, I'm the same way. It's like I want like I would like a nice plot, a nice fictional story that has good character moments. Like whether it be somebody with too much power, somebody trying to gain power, and then having them, the X-Men having their squabbles because that's one of the things they did. It was soap opery, but not to the extreme. And that's one of the problems with the modern stuff. It seems like from outside looking in, because I'm not going to pick up that garbage. I'm not paying $5 to be
I've picked
spitting
up
it.
some of it here recently. I guess you could say I've pushed the needle or
Oh God.
whatever it is.
Oh, we can talk
But
about that too. But yeah, you
well, I
say
mean,
picked up
I did pick up some of the I guess more recent stuff to kind of give it a shot.
and how that hold up.
Uh, I mean, it's all right. I don't know, man. Maybe I really enjoyed the older X-Men stories too much. I mean, it's not like I didn't go in there with a negative attitude. I mean, it's just it is what it is.
Yeah, it's like well, that's the thing. It's like it's what you're carrying with you that does paint the what you're reading in the present. It's like for me, I never had like I'd read good Superman stories, but for the most part, I never really read Superman in the comics because a lot of the time it was just generic stories. Like it was either the times where they had made him, like he was so like overpowered he can do anything, of course, or where he wouldn't do anything. Like he would not like punch anybody. He wouldn't use he would use his powers aggressively. Going on the offense. Defensively, he would, but not offensively. It's like when they did that authority parody. The Superman versus the Elite. They were called.
Oh
Then they
yeah,
did that movie too, and that aspect where he could have just beat the living hell out of him. Like he could just pound it down. So I'm gonna use my brains, and everybody's like, clapping for that. It's like it was boring. It's like at the very least, I mean, Superman. This is I understand this is the take on Superman. It's like, oh, there's something much more you can do with your brains. It's like I guess, but when you have Kryptonian superpowers, maybe not. Go ahead and flex those
everything can be
muscles, Soups.
thrown in the sun, pretty
It,
much.
well, yeah, well, he cooked the guy's the character that's the equivalent of I guess it would be Jenny Sparks. I believe that's the kind of equivalent, but he uses his heat vision and goes into the guy's brain and cooks the bit of his brain that gave him his powers.
Yeah, it gives
It's
him the lobotomy.
basically it's a lobotomy, but not to the point of he's drooling, but he no longer
Right.
has his abilities. So this guy's
The
gone around.
Manchester Black, right? Isn't that his
Yes,
name?
that's him. That's him. But he went around just kicking ass. I think how many people Manchester Black had. Those that he didn't take out. How many people hated him, and now Superman's left him defenseless. That's just like that's a dick move, Soups. That's a really dick move. But I could
I
dig
guess
that.
that's, I mean, in a way, that's the brutalness that you're wanting, but I mean, it's not the physical brutalness, it's the mental
Yeah,
brutalness.
it's like one of those things you think about, and you're like, oh, geez, that's worse than actually punching him.
I think a lot of people they want to write more of that than the other side of that. I mean, I like both, you
Yeah,
know.
I like a fair balance of both, or somewhat fair balance. Like I go a little heavy on this side, then a little heavy on that, back and forth. But when it comes down to comics, like you said, plot driven, like an actual good story. It's like, yeah, you can have good characters, but they're just standing around doing nothing that turns into Clerks, or it turns into, like in one of these like TV, sitcoms where they're just standing around talking, nothing's actually happening. It's like, as much as I'm not a big Seinfeld fan, I'm more of a Curb Your Enthusiasm fan because something actually happens in Curb. It's really, really horrible. Like Larry goes and the Palestinian restaurant, and then he's like being torn between this very sexually aggressive Palestinian woman and this Jewish organization. So he's like torn. He's like, and he's in the middle. Like that is like that's funny. But
There's some
Seinfeld,
conflict there.
yeah, definitely some conflict. But it's like it's like really, it's really dumb at times. Well, really dumb. It's all dumb at times, but it was fun. It was like actually something was going on to an extent. Like Seinfeld, which not much really happens in Seinfeld. That's the whole thing, show about nothing. But that's just the way I come at it. But when it comes down to these, like I said, the X-Men stories, like even the ones much maligned from the '90s, like the so-called bad X-Men stuff, like pre and post Onslaught, and it's hard to
Hey, I
say.
like all that stuff. I
I do
mean,
too.
I
I
like
like,
it
but
for what it is. I
like
mean, I know I'm not disillusioned into believing it's perfect, but I like those stories though. I mean, sometimes, it's kind of like the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. It's just like, why do they keep making these? But yet, it's like I'll watch every single one of them. I don't really care.
yeah, I'm not the same way when it comes down to it. It's like you know, I watch, God help me, movie Hackers. I love Hackers. I don't
That's a
care how
great movie.
it's
Not a
great. Like
perfect movie though.
no, it's a fun movie, and that's all I care about. Because I was being told how good Mr. Robot was. Oh, Mr. Robot's amazing. Mr. Robot's great. And so I said, I'll finally get around to watching it. I'm watching it, and they bring up hackers in it, and how mocking, they start mocking hackers and everything like that. And I'm like, but hackers is more entertaining than this thing. Like I get it. This is Fight Club meets computer. Like it's Fight Club with computers.
Edgy.
Yeah, it's edgy. That's all it really is. It's like
Edgy computers.
it bored the hell out of me. It was like, okay, somebody saw Fight Club one too many times, and it's like, how can I make a serious version of Hackers mixed with Fight Club? And that's basically what it is. And we're fighting the man. I'm like, no, it does nothing. It did nothing for me. But like that Street Fighter, the original Mortal Kombat movie, that's actually really good, even though it was like not as violent as it could be. But and I
For what it
understand that
is, though, it conveys that it's Mortal Kombat.
in spirit, and it gets it right in spirit, and that matters more to me than a lot of these. Comes down to these movies, whether it be based off of you know, like I like bits of Doom, the Doom movie with Carl Urban and The Rock.
Hey, that's not. Yeah, I own that movie. I
Yeah,
agree.
it's like about 60-70% of the spirit is there. Like pretty much, it's clearly it's not 100% Doom. It could be like the Doom Marine. He hell. They chained him up and sent him to hell because he was so much of a badass, like that kind of thing. That was great. The new Doom game. I mean, I was like, this is your tutorial, and he punches it. Like I need
Yeah,
you to
it's
help
like
me.
right there, right off the bat. Yeah.
Like I'm not. No, this is not this going to be this kind of game. But with these, like there's certain people in comics, and I don't know if you've run into this in your time of you know reading comics. Like you said, you don't read as much as you used to. Uh, and that's correct, right? I'm not putting words in your mouth.
No, I mean, I don't pick up as much new stuff. I mean, I still read old stuff on the pretty often. But
Yeah,
I
I'm
mean,
not.
I've been trying to go and try some of this newer stuff to kind of push the needle. But
It's well for me. I'm like the same way. Like I've been trimming down my collections, but been like, focusing like on certain things. Like one of the things I've been trying to get my hands on. Any of the ones I've missed, the old X-Men trade paperbacks from like back before like the 2000s Marvel, when they were like when the Marvel logo was the old school Marvel Comics logo with the big Marvel and then the comics in the center of it,
I think I
like
know
the
what you're
'90s
talking
logo.
about.
And like I going through and getting those, but uh, other than that, I mean, the newer stuff, it's like it seems like there's a lot more of these what people call gatekeepers. You know, like, oh, you're not a real fan. Oh, you're not a true fan. Oh, well, you know, like that kind of thing.
That's a load of shit.
I know it's
I've never understood that. It's like, I mean, if you want to like something, go ahead and like it.
yeah,
You
it's
know,
like me. Like
boom.
if I've had people where I've like, so what you reading, and they've taken that as being like a gatekeeper. No, I'm curious what you're reading. What have you read? Like if you're just
And
getting
I'm
into
not
comics,
looking to be analyzed.
exactly. It's like I kind of want to like know where we kind of stand, or maybe I can make a suggestion, or like have some kind of simpatico with that person. Oh, you read this? Oh, I read the same thing, like that. You know, that kind of thing. Like, oh, you read V for Vendetta? Oh, I did too. You know, that kind of thing. Whatever. It doesn't matter. But it's like a lot of people take that because there are certain facets of whether it be it's like it's more comics than anything else because games it's not that I don't say it in video games myself, but the you played that game. I did get some heat because I played some a couple of first person shooters. It's like, oh, I thought you'd be playing more like RPGs and stuff. I'm like, no, I
I
don't.
give people heat for playing Two Worlds.
What's that? I
It's a really crappy game.
Two Worlds. I'm
Two
trying to think.
Worlds, yeah.
Is that the one with Willem Dafoe and Ellen Page?
Oh no, not that.
That's Two Souls. Oh, that's Two Souls. That's the one. Okay, okay, but yeah, there's like I mean these so-called gatekeepers keeping people kind of the thumb down on them and everything, but I don't know. Like when it comes down to it, like as long as you're reading, enjoying, you're kind of like you want to do this. Like this is not like it's like somebody reading, I don't know, like a one issue of Spider-Man and calling himself the biggest comic book fan, and then I'm like, okay, you're full of
All the
shit.
time. All the time. No.
It's like but it's like if they're up front and say, hey, I just got into comics, I've been reading this, I want to read some more, and I'm like, oh yeah, try this. If it sounds like something you like, good luck to you. And it's like that kind of like I want to find out that because of that reason. But yeah, it's like it's really weird how some of these people they treat the so-called thing they love, they treat it like it's a resource, even though it's like the more people you keep out, the less likely things are going to succeed, which is really funky.
That
But
kills it, yeah.
yeah, so I
Especially, I
mean,
mean, it's money. At the end of the
it
day, it's
is,
money that keeps comic books going.
it is,
You
it's a
can't get
capitalist
around that.
business,
Yeah.
and it's what gets so weird about it, it's like this whole the push the needle and all that stuff. The like some of the sales figures for last month for February came out, and there really isn't from what I'm looking at doesn't seem much of a like needles are being pushed. It's more like, hey, comic fans, you're already buying books, take photos of the books you're already buying and then put it a hashtag. That's pretty much it. It's like, I mean, the idea would be buying more than you normally do or getting more people to read comics. And it's like it's like if you were to go out there, like if you look at a herd of cattle, and then you start you just look at a bunch of cows. Okay, that's fine. But if you put like those little
Only
trackers in
so
them,
much the cows can do to promote hamburgers, man.
exactly, it's or chicken, yeah, or the Chick-fil-A. We're closed on Sundays, but it's worth it. But yeah, it's like with when it comes down to like a visible it's easier to make people that normally would not be that visible than it is getting new people to read the comics to say, hey, come on, let's go, let's jump into this, because it's hard to get people to want to pay $4 or $5 an issue or even $3 an issue over at DC on a regular basis. It's like that's like what you're dealing with for what it called you get 20 comics before before taxes, of course, 20 comics or one video game, or you can get like that's or you can get 4 Marvel comics for a DVD or Blu-ray. You can rent a movie for $5 or buy one Marvel comic. Like for like 4 or 5 bucks, you can rent a movie or buy a Marvel comic. 2 hours of entertainment, possibility of entertainment, or maybe 15 minutes. Yeah, it's like it's hard to. This isn't like when they were back on like $1.25 a piece, $1 a piece, cheaper than that. I mean, it's a major corporation. They could make them cheaper. They could make more people come in, but they kind of want to offset costs. And I understand they want to offset costs, but they can run it at a loss as like a marketing scheme for the movies and get more people because but diminishing returns because they're talking about how Infinity War might not make as much money as they're predicting. Kind of like what
We'll
happened
see. We'll see,
Last Jedi.
man. They've always seemed to find a way to make money with these movies. I have read the same thing earlier today. We'll see what happens, man.
I'm kind of hoping it does. I kind of want the wheels to start coming off, but I know it'll hurt people. I know it'll hurt them
Yeah,
shops.
and I was thinking the same thing earlier today. It's like, I want things to change, but I don't want to see Marvel be destroyed because I mean, I don't want it to go away, you know?
And I get that because it's like it's not going to just hurt Marvel. It's not. It's going to hurt the stores that are selling the Marvel product.
Yeah, this is an
Because DC alone,
ecosystem.
yeah, DC alone can't keep it up. Can't like support the entire end like as the number one. They could back in the day, but not so much anymore. But I mean, everybody pretty much the Marvel's the sink as far as creatively is a sinking ship. I mean, they lost Jim Chung, uh, who did I don't know if he did Young Avengers. He did back in the day. He did Iron Man. Uh, Great comic artist. I mean,
I
he
say
went
he's
over to
been
DC.
mostly a Marvel guy for a long time.
Yeah, and then he just went over to DC. Like, what DC's got nobody left except like Nick Bradshaw, who is did not Art Adams. He's like a guy that just rips off Art Adams' style. Like it's like I was like, what's that Art Adams? Like what? Because I know Art Adams is old. He's not some young kid anymore or anything. And I'm like, oh, his Art Adams style looks a little weird. And it turns out Nick Bradshaw is like, oh, son of a bitch. That's
Someone
bullshit.
fucking lifted that,
Oh
huh?
God, yeah, man. It's like that's his style. And then there's like that Ramon Villalobos. He's one of those. He's one of them bleeding heart sons of bitches. But his style is not Frank Quitely. It's like, hey, you want a bargain basement Frank Quitely with really messed up, even more messed up faces? Here you
Damn.
go. Oh my God, look at his shit, man. It's like it's really bad. Like there's parts where the faces look like somebody, like it looked like if somebody drew into an old leather catcher's mitt. That's what the faces look like, all wrinkled up and just smudgy, really bad looking.
Jesus.
I mean, that's the thing. Like they give some of these people. It's not what you can do; it's who you know. And if you make the right connections, I mean, you can do fine. But don't these people thinking, oh, talent means everything? It doesn't. It really doesn't. I mean,
There's the
look,
other side of that coin because apparently this industry is gatekept by, certain individuals.
yeah, both on the reader customer side and as well as the
I
industry
mean,
side.
that's just from my point of view, as a customer is what I see, on social media and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's like that's the thing. It's like these people, from some of them, if not all of them, I said well not necessarily all of them, but they were, where a lot of people going into law enforcement, they were picked on and bullied. They become law enforcement. And I've seen that happen. But then you have these people that they felt like they had no power, had no voice. So once they get one, they become like those gatekeepers. They control the flow, and in doing so, they damn the industry. And it's a shame. It's really a shame to see this happen because it's like the movies are making billions of dollars, but the comics are the most they'll sell is like 100,000, and that's usually for a gimmick or an event. Every comic from Marvel should be selling like 100,000 each at least. It's a Marvel book, but they don't because at the end of the day, no one cares because they have made no one care. It's like with the Last Jedi message: none of this matters. It's like, oh, your comics, none of this matters. It's like the hero's gonna win at the end of Infinity War. None of this matters. It's like that. It doesn't. Logan made me care. I knew it was gonna happen, and it made me care either way. And that right there, that's how it's supposed to be. But you can't really do that when you want to pander to the foreign markets. You want to keep everything. Oh, okay, we got your quotient of a checklist of quips you got to put in here. Oh, don't forget we got to have a quip between Rocket Raccoon and Spider Man because that's got to
Oh
happen.
God.
You know that's going to happen.
Let the
You know.
toys flow, Larry. Let the toys flow.
It's like I kind of wish this giant sandworm from Arrakis would just show up and swallow everything.
Funko
Uh,
Pops are gonna be raining from the sky.
I know stores make their money off of that, but it was so. I was last time I was in my comic book store, they were talking about, oh, we got to about the Shape of Water. You know that Guillermo del Toro film.
Yeah, the
They were
fish
talking
movie. I
the
haven't
fish.
watched it.
It should be retitled "I Want to Fuck the Creature from the Black Lagoon," the movie. That's
Yeah.
basically what it is. And and it was like they were talking about there was like a chase variant of or glow in the dark variant of the aquatic gill man or whatever the creature from Black Lagoon, and they're like, well, we don't know if we could sell that many. And so, well, we've already sold 6 of them. I think they had to sell like 7 more to like make it. Like, so they're not just stuck with 7 Funko Pop figures that they can't move. And that just made me sad to sell one, to get their hands on one, which would bring people in. They have to buy a bunch more. That's sad. That's like really, really sad. You already don't have the people to buy them anyway, but you know. And hey, Braylon, what's going on, man? Mega Gears X in the chat. Marvel has too many clips in their movies. Damn right they do.
I agree with
Guardians of the
that as
Galaxy,
well.
Guardians of the Galaxy broke me on that. That right there is the movie that broke me with Marvel. I did see Age of Ultron after that. That was for the old podcast I did. And I was miserable the entire time. It's like none of it. Like, oh, Captain America, I'm gonna save this one woman while an entire continent, like where entire city is floating in the space. I'm like, maybe needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few or the one. Maybe there's a bunch of kids you could have been saving, Cap, instead of like this dumb woman who's falling off the edge. If you got too close to the edge, that was your fault. But it was like CGI slam fest at the end. Like just a bunch of you just see them just standing there. All right, action, and they're like acting like
Let's get
things are coming at
everybody
them.
in the shot. Let's do this cool 360 thing.
Oh my god, that was the worst. Like,
Oh man.
I was thinking earlier about if they were to do Sugar Man from the X-Men comics. You remember Sugar
Talking
Man,
about the
right?
guy with the arms on his back hiding in the fucking sewers.
Yeah, with the giant mouth and fangs. He got this big nose.
Dark
He's
Beast.
creepy.
That,
Yeah, with Dark
I think
Beast.
Dark
Yeah,
Beast
like he
is
was
the
like he was like
name. Or
exactly, yeah,
they
with
were
Dark
not
Beast and
friends.
everything. Well, I was thinking if they were to do that now, that would be all CG. But if they were to do it like in the late '80s, '90s, he would have been like latex and rubber,
You
and like
get
he'd been.
Danny DeVito, dude, and glue some
Yeah,
fucking arms to his bag.
you know what? That's actually kind of what I thought. Like, but like that kind of like they would have made it a practical effect. It wouldn't be the CGI monstrosity like it is now, and CGI has a place, but when you could do it practically, do it practically. Like that skill of actually seeing something on the screen, like maybe it has an uncanny valley effect where it looks a little off, but still has that kind of
Something in your brain clicks on and lets you know, hey,
yeah,
that's not real. You
yeah,
know
and
it's
also
not
has
real.
actors. The actors can work off of that. But I wanted to ask you about something kind of changing topics slightly. Uh, there's something maybe you've had this issue being addicted to certain games or finding yourself playing a game and you're like, oh hell, it's been like 3 hours already. Has that happened to you before or recently or anything like that?
It usually happens all the time, Larry.
Well,
This is
is there?
something I deal with all the time.
It's your addiction, right? It's a major addiction, right?
I guess, yeah, I guess
I
so, man. You got me.
it happens. It happens to me too.
We all
Lately,
pick our poison.
well, my poison apparently has been Astroneer, that early access, the pre-alpha game. It's like Minecraft in space.
I've
So,
seen you playing that.
yeah, a lot, way too much. It's like I'm so tempted to uninstall it and wait till it's like in the beta, so I could go ahead because if I keep it installed, even though I kind of want to play it now, even though I've pretty much done everything I could do, my goal is there's no real goals yet. They've been adding new stuff because they just basically had a base game and then they've been adding more stuff to it.
Hmm.
And I've been traveling to different worlds and setting up bases and everything. And I got my rocket ship and my rocket fuel. I feel like the ultimate warrior. Like, it's rocket fuel, and it's cool. It's fun, but I'm like, oh my god, I've spent the past 2 hours working away. I wanted to clear out this mountain. My landing site, I wanted to be completely flat.
You wanted to
So
be completely thorough about it, also.
yeah, it was like this. Yeah, and I was going through, and it's like, oh my god, what have I done? I've just burned. I could have been doing anything else, but I'm
Fuck
not.
it.
I'm over here. Oh my god. At least like a game like Deus Ex or Grand Theft Auto, I could be making some progress. I could be making my way towards you know buying.
I've played games like you're talking about. Ark's one of them. I played Ark like that pretty hard since that game came out. I guess 2 years ago now.
Mhm.
And man, it would just lose like 4 or 5 hours and just like gone. You don't get that back. It's like fuck. That's it.
It's like
It's gone.
so. I mean, if with the modern games the way they are, if you could go back to we're talking the old games like the old 18, 16-bit era, even up to like the PS2 era, would you trade online multiplayer in modern gaming for games that are actually crafted well, even PC games to an extent, like your old Half-Life, Deus Ex, stuff like that, Thief? Would you trade the modern gaming experience for the old school gaming experience? Like if they had to do it, we're not being able to
Instead of
patch
giving us the sandbox that's unlimited just to keep
with
you
day one
occupied like a
with day one
daycare.
patches with day one patches of like 20 gigs or something because they
Let's
didn't
push this shit out as fast as we can, and we'll just fix it later
yeah,
on.
let's make a release date, not actually good game, like that kind of thing. I mean, would you trade in that experience, like the idea of multiplayer, for an actually a thoroughly enjoyable game that you can go through and play multiple times, and it's just a work of art? Would you trade that?
Would like traditional multiplayer still be intact though?
Like
Say,
like
you know,
LAN
like
system, like
local. Yeah.
LAN and multiple controllers, like that's another thing. Like you had like you used to have like four controller co-op. Now my Xbox One has like two. That's all I got. I got two controller, really two. I think I could put more. I think, but it gets kind of weird because you got to sync it up right, and it
How
just
many
gets.
people are coming over to play though?
Well, that depends. Yeah, well, it depends on how many you get. Yeah, it's like and
That's just
it's
the times we're in now. I mean, I don't feel like people really physically get together to play games anymore unless it's like an event, or something that's really, planned out.
and there's really no games where people could do that with. I mean, when you think about it, like everything, you can't do it. I mean, as far as local co-op, I mean, there really is none. Like they don't make them. They don't make them like that anymore, which is a damn shame. And like honestly, I'd trade it back. I'd trade it all in. I'd trade everything back in. Like the single player experience to me is more important than any multiplayer because the single player experience, it could be a
It used
work
to
of
be the
art.
bonus, in my opinion. That was the bonus.
The
Was the
multiplayer,
multiplayer.
yeah, yeah. It's like like with Halo, Halo One, Halo Combat Evolved. That right there had multiplayer, but it was like that LAN. It was still fun. Like I mean, I didn't play LAN. I didn't. Me and my brother would play. I didn't get. I was more of a PS. I was a PlayStation person until I got the Xbox, and I was playing Combat Evolved, and I'm like, oh my god, this game's amazing. And I got Halo 2 as well. And so I'm like, all right, now I see what the deal is. I now understand what people were trying to do when they're trying to build the Halo killers, the kill zone, and so on and so forth. It's like, yeah, good luck
Yeah,
with
the
that,
first
folks.
Killzone's not a bad game. I
It it's
thoroughly
not
enjoyed
though.
that game.
It's not, but it was way shorter than Combat Evolved. It was way didn't have as much depth. It didn't have like that. They wanted to do a whole. It's kind of like no way with Resistance Fall of Man was supposed to be a little bit. That was supposed to be kind of a Halo killer as well, but
Yeah.
it really that was not a good game. That was like
Yeah.
it was a
That didn't kill
PS3 game.
shit.
It looked like a PS1. It was like somebody said we have a very advanced PS1 game called Resistance. Oh, let's throw some aliens in it and put it out there. That's gonna be our Halo killer. Like, wait, what?
What?
Yeah, it's oh god, that game was just muddy and garbage. And I
I
played.
I applaud the story. I mean, I like the story. I just don't feel like the execution was all there.
Yeah, I think they rushed that game too, try to get like a release date. That's what
It
happened, I
was
believe.
a it was a game released with the console when it first came out, right?
Yeah, I think so. So I think they had to. They didn't really have everything kind of nailed down as far as like like they didn't have. It's like that's the problem at them first release games. We're gonna have you have got to have a game to come with the console. Like
We gotta push
yeah,
this shit out before they do.
it's like make people buy it and give them remorse. Hey, here you paid $600 for this console. Yeah, and he bought this game and it's garbage, garbage console, garbage game. Oh yeah, that's if you get to hold on either. Well, especially the console, but yeah, it's like when it comes down to games, like even though I'm not the biggest fan like I once was. I was a big Metal Gear Solid fan, and then after like Metal Gear Solid, 4 and then 5, I kind of, I mean, the PS2 game, the PSP games actually, I like them more. The Peace Walker, Peace Walker was a much better game than Metal Gear Solid 4, and it was much better than Metal Gear Solid 5. I'm like, how is this little PSP game, this little handheld game, a much better game than your console, massive giant, this experience? It felt it
Metal
felt like
Gear's
a
universe just got bigger than what it used to be,
it's disappointing. It was disappointing
trying to
for
do so many things. And I don't think it's a bad thing. I a lot of that stuff was innovative, at the time.
yeah
It's just you got to fine tune what you're trying to give the people though.
yeah. It's like you gotta understand what you're giving to people, and that's one of those issues with like Metal Gear Solid had beautiful women that had crazy stories. It had the CQC. You had these kind of little conspiracy stuff. It was like a much more palatable version of Deus Ex, which like I've seen playthrough. I've seen like multiple playthroughs of Deus Ex and all the story bits and stuff too, which basically turns into an Alex Jones thing.
I'm you
But
know I'm sitting on that game. I have that game and I
you
have
have the
never played
original
through
or
it.
the newer games.
Well, I mean I have the original on my Steam account, but I have I guess the first one of the newer ones.
Oh, Human Revolution. Yeah, the
Yeah.
I didn't ask for this. Yeah, that that right there. I'd play that game, and it was a little stiff. Like the controls are a little stiff, even though it's not a old game. I mean, but it just the controls were a little stiff, but it was I liked it a lot, and I like the fact
You're
that
a
you can go.
robot though. It's
You
okay.
are. It's well, dear God, it's basically RoboCop meets Blade Runner because literally it takes place in Detroit, futuristic Detroit, and you play a cop who was basically murdered, and they put his body back together as an
Always picking
augment.
on Detroit.
Well, there's a well for good reason, but but
You
you're
earned
saying
it. No.
the Motor City did earn this,
You
you know.
wanted this.
But you sneak through the vents of the police station. And you come across these cops talking, and you hear them talk. Like you sneak through the police station in general, but the cops are talking. And say, "Hey, man, what's that movie? It came out in the '80s. It's about a cop who gets turned into an android or machine, part cop, and he's going around kicking ass. And the other cop's like, I don't know. And you go look at the cop that says, I don't know. It was
How you
his name
fucking
is
not
like
know?
Alex Murphy. His name is Alex Murphy. So it's like I'm like, yeah, like nice reference, people. But like, there's parts where like you can like if somebody gives you lip, like a guy robbed me, and it's like, oh, you'll do what I say, and I decided to kill him. I could have stunned him, but I decided to take my arm blades out and baraka him like right through the thorax, just you know.
Judge, jury, executioner.
Yeah, it's like I was going through a kill playthrough. It's like if I can avoid killing, I will. But if I have to, I will. I said if I have to, I won't hesitate to pull that trigger. But the original Deus Ex, it gets really weird. Like there's certain stuff there. Oh, they had to limit one of the things, like the limitations. Like they didn't render. Like, oh, we couldn't render this World Trade Center. Like but that's not that's BS. They could have rendered that because all it is just a bunch of pixels, and it's not even fully
A lot
rendered.
of weird coincidences.
Yeah, it's like they talk about there's like certain scenes about their like in the 1930s corporations paid this much of taxes. Now they pay less than that, and the private individual pays more. And that time the private individual what made up most of the economy for like that included like farms and small businesses, and now they're pushing that away. They're trying to make like a new peasant class, and it gets really like in that music and everything too, kind of sets it all up. But I mean, the game's like the old school game. I wish I could. I need to check and see if I can actually find the original release, like maybe the Game of Year edition or whatever they have, and see if it works on my laptop. Because I still have.
If you have Steam, you can download that game. I'm pretty sure they have the original version. It's
I might
fairly
actually have to.
cheap.
So I actually have to get Steam because I know.
Or GOG.com. That's another
Oh,
place that has older games.
I might have to do that then because I kind of want to go back and play the original Wasteland, the precursor to Fallout, the
I'm pretty
Wasteland.
sure either one of those websites has that.
Well, I might have to get that because there's some of these older games I want to get into. It's like hopefully it won't be too hard because of the learning curve because people are a lot smarter back then. I'm not that smart. It's like that.
We've been dumbed down, Larry. We can't do it no more.
It's all the hormones in the water. It's the fluoride and hormones. Break the conditioning. But it's like when it comes to these games, I mean, you look at some of these, like I used to play. I could play the hell out of the Siphon Filter games on the PS1. Oh my God, they kick my ass. I can't even get past the second level in Siphon Filter 1. It's that tough. It's really tough though, and it's not like broken controls. I mean, the game has it actually implemented the first person shooting element where you can go from third person to first person.
I remember. Yeah, and that was relatively new at the time.
Also, tasering people till they burst into flame.
That's how it's supposed to be used.
Yeah, it's like you take like air taser him here.
I'm not trying to irritate you.
It's like I'm just like I can't play these old games like I used to. It's like I feel so old. I feel like I feel decrepit. Like, I feel like I'm an 80-year-old person. It's like, what are they whippersnappers talking about? These video games. It's not even 20 years ago. Actually, it would be 20 years ago. 98. It's like when 98, no, 99 is the Siphon Filter came out because 98 is when Metal Gear Solid came out. But yeah, it's like those kind of like, oh my God, it makes me feel so old. But yeah, these games which are very basic, but they weren't that dumb. I mean, they were when you're younger and you got nothing. Your mind is fractured because of so many things. Like, oh, you got YouTube, you got Amazon, you got Netflix, you got multiple social media things, and it gets to the point where you can't really focus. You can't focus on these games, and that's one reason I'm kind of glad I never got to play the MMOs, the MMORPGs, because it would just
go ahead and sell your soul to World of Warcraft, man.
No, man, I'm gonna fight it.
I definitely endorse that, man.
I know. You're not you. There's been like two other people in recent days. Like, oh come on, man, just go ahead and try it out. If you do, this is my account. We do some, we party up and all this. And I was like, I don't know about that. Like, something like that.
I mainly just tell you because of the experience. I mean, if you get in there and you try to have a good time, and maybe find your way into, a deal with other people who are kind of on the same level, I mean, it's an enjoyable thing. I had a great time playing World of Warcraft. I made a ton of friends. It was cool.
So I could see that could be fun.
It did suck the life out of me, though.
It's like a vampire. It's like, we'll give you eternal life. We'll protect you from other vampires, but we're going to suck the life out of you.
It's going to protect you from playing other games for a little while. I'll say that much.
It's a familiar. you get some protection, but yeah, it's like as far as new games, I mean, there's not really much I play outside of like my standard stuff, Battlefield and so on. It's like Battlefield, GTA a little bit. When GTA isn't kicking me, it'll like I'm running my drugs and then it'll kick me, and it's like a mission over and this and that. Like mission failed for.
Welcome to online play. You had a good time, didn't you?
Yeah, it's always real fun.
Just like I can't make any money, and then all of a sudden you realize you've done bought some shark cards, just to feel good. You're fixed.
Rockstar 2K. It's like, yeah, you add all these extra mission stuff. You can add all these shark card options, but you can't add a couple more radio stations and a couple more songs. How dare you? How dare you? Like how many of these, like who listens to like your like music sounds like aliens, or like, okay, we got, you have a whole talk channel, but no, like synth wave, no, like, they were talking about
Well, that
Kavinsky.
shit's just too damn peaceful, man.
Yeah, it's like, we can't
It's
have
not the
no
kind of
peaceful
environment
shit.
we're promoting here, Larry.
Yeah, we need. Well, that's another thing. It's like you can't even idle for a little bit. You idle for a tiny bit, and they just kick you. And yeah, like,
Well, you're taking up space, man. We got
that's
paying
true.
customers trying to get in
Oh my
here.
God, you're right. Oh my God, I didn't even see it like that. Oh my God, they're treating it
You
like it's.
looking? This
Oh my
ain't a
God,
library, son. We need you to buy something.
you hear that Texas coming out of you right there.
I mean, yeah, dude, that's how it is. They don't need you standing around. Well, this asshole's standing around in his garage when we got, this dude here who's ready to come in and start dropping nukes.
My God, it's a game as a service. Oh my God, that's so unfortunate. But when they introduced the what was it, the like the orbital cannons and stuff like that, where
That's the
hey,
real
this
fuck
much,
you stuff right there.
yeah, you can
Yeah.
kill anybody, anywhere, anytime. It's like
Well, they know
I play,
people got the money. That's the deal,
yeah, and then like they punish you. Like my brother, he plays it a lot, and he's like, he'll occasionally ask me. I was like, dude, like I'll help you, but it's probably gonna kick me, and I might cause you to lose some money. But like, oh, I gotta go sell this, I gotta go do this, that, because it's like, if
Blood is
I'm,
gonna be spilt.
oh my God, I'll be flying a helicopter carrying cargo, and then I get kicked, and so the helicopter crashes, and if it blows up, that means he's lost the cargo. So I've cost him money, which is unfortunate, and very unfortunate. But when you come down to the games, it's like, they, even with their money making options in game, they don't want you making money. Like, you can have the best security possible for your bunker and all this and that, and people could come, like, oh, NPC has stolen your property. You have to go get it back. And if you don't get it back, either they take off with it, and it's gone, because if you can't shoot the helicopter down. I mean, there's like, there's one of them where it's not on the ground, it's like in a truck, and then the other is in a helicopter. And if you take out the helicopter pilot, but don't keep people out of the helicopter will take off. Once it takes off the ground, there's no way to not destroy the cargo. You can't shoot it down. You can't. We're going to shoot the pilot. The helicopter's going to crash.
That's it. This is
There's
a
no.
one-way ticket.
Yeah, and the worst thing about it, like, say you have $800,000 worth of product or something. So that's 400,000 in the truck, 400,000 in the helicopter. That's $400,000 gone. That's not cheap. I mean, that's
The
not.
risk is there.
Yeah, there's a lot of risk.
The
And
reward is high, though.
I don't know. It's like, a the Tumbler slash the '89 Batmobile just driving around doing much of nothing. I don't know. I don't know if that's a high reward, but like, it can't be like, it's like popping in X-Men Clone Wars, X-Men 2 Clone Wars, and we're just drops you in with a random hero, random X-Man, and
Right off the bat.
you're right off the bat. No
I
other
was
game
playing that
does that.
yesterday, Larry. No
You
joke,
were
dude.
good man, good. Like, what was the what was the hero when you first popped it in? Who to give you first?
I got Wolverine. Actually, I
Wolverine.
got Wolverine like 3 different times. I was resetting because I was wanting Cyclops. And most of the time, I would get Wolverine or Psylocke over and over, and
Yeah,
then maybe Beast.
yeah, Cyclops Cyclops and Gambit were really good at first level because you hit everything at range.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah. You had
and,
the robots and the ninjas that jumped at you and shit
and
like that, and
the
the fucking
music,
bombs.
the
You don't
background.
really know what's going on.
No, it's like, what the hell? Like, it's like one of those things that game has stuck with me for so many years. And I don't know if you knew this, but have you ever heard of the group called Information Society? They're a musical group. It's like called
I
band.
don't think I've ever heard of that, man.
They did a song. I want to know what you're thinking. There are some things you can't hide.
That sounds kind of familiar. Yeah.
Well, the guy from that, Kurt Harland, I believe he's, I guess you call him digital percussionist. It's like kind of synths and stuff. He's the one that did the music for X-Men 2 Clone Wars. So I
Oh
was
wow.
like, so there's that song, that, like a couple of other songs of Information Society running, like, if you listen to the music, especially like the non-vocal stuff, the background music, of course, it's like it sounds very similar to X-Men 2 Clone Wars. Like it's not much different. I was like, yeah, it's like I love this stuff. Oh my god, it's like I'm flashing back to the good old times of playing that, playing Jurassic Park on the Genesis as well. The good old days. I mean,
The Jurassic Park, though, I remember playing that on the Sega Genesis and not getting very far in that game. That game was
it was tough but
asshole like.
good. Like it was creepy though, especially when like you were running by and the T-Rex would pop out and like try to snap at you, try to eat you. Like I got like it took me, I'd say like 15 years. I always got to the final level and I couldn't figure out how to kill the Velociraptors. And it turns out you got to throw grenades at the bones and have the bones of the brontosauruses, like I think T-Rex and brontosaurus,
That
fall on
makes
top
sense because
of the
throwing a
Velociraptor.
grenade directly at something doesn't kill it, right?
Exactly. Yeah, you gotta make the bones crash on top of the Velociraptors before you can leave them. Like that's bullshit. It took me that
going to
many
throw
years
this
to.
directly at the raptor.
Yeah, let me kill it directly, but no, of course not. But I mean,
Only
but
immune
other
to bone damage.
bone damage, it's like we have leveled up since our last encounter, Alan Grant. We're going to
Can only be damaged by other dinosaurs.
it's like only a dinosaur can kill another dinosaur. It's just like whether they're dead or alive.
It's new
But yeah,
rules. Yep.
it's like oh my god, it's like it's like the boss battles. It's like they would like come back as like Hitler comes back with like cyborg Velociraptor, cyborg Nazi Velociraptor. But with these old games, I mean, I just love playing that stuff, like the old hockey games where you could ice check somebody into the glass. It's like it's
Sounds like you
great.
want a retro game, dude. Is what it sounds like to me,
I
man.
do, man. It's like I got these. Like, I mean, I'm looking behind me, and I got I got the Fallout. I got the it's a UK. It's a sorry, it's a PAL release, so it's not NTSC. So it gets kind of funky when you play it on a NTSC screen. But I got the like the Fallout games, Fallout 1, 2, and Tactics, and I also got God help me, Danger Girl for the PS1. Which
Oh shit.
you know that existed?
I do. I
Okay,
do know that existed. Yeah.
okay. It's actually kind of
Should hold
fun.
on to that. Yeah. Should hold on to
It's
that, man.
it's got a sketch because it's actually in the jewel case with the book came with it, and so it's got the little sketchbook section in the back of the book. Same thing with Exo Man of War, Exo Man of War, Iron Man, Heavy Metal.
I know.
It's
Yeah.
the
That I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
that one's kind of rough.
That's a
That
little
one's
rough. Yeah. I
yeah.
agree.
It's I mean I kind of want to really get into it, but oh my god! But yeah, it's like stuff like
I don't
that.
feel like that looks like Iron Man.
Well, yeah, it's basically just like reskinned. It's like the two skins of Iron Man, basically. It's like they got really lazy, but one of my favorite ones I have X-Men: Children of the Atom for the PS1. I mean, that's I know that everybody loves the say Marvel versus Capcom or X-Men versus Street Fighter stuff
Well,
like
that
that.
shit started somewhere, though. Yeah, I know. I get you,
Yeah,
dude.
but it's like the good games like that. Yeah, even whether based on comics or not. But you know, other stuff too. Your Super Mario Brothers 3, Ducktales. Like
DuckTales, yeah. Listen, I love DuckTales.
that game's tough. That game is tough. It's like I know they did that reskin. They're kind of remastered. They just basically reskinned it for
Oh
like
no,
HD.
I tell you what, dude, don't even worry about that. I know for a fact on your Xbox you can go buy the Disney collection, and it's
Oh,
got the original port of DuckTales in there.
it does. It does. Okay, I'm
Yeah,
gonna have to go check that out then.
and
But
it's
it's like
also it's got DuckTales 1 and 2. It's got Chippendale 1 and 2, and it's got Tailspin, and then Darkwing Duck. Totally worth
Darkwing
it.
Duck. Darkwing Duck I
Yep.
played one time, and then somebody at the video station, the place I used to get my video games from on Fridays, get my mom would come pick me up from school. Me and my brother would go. Pick me and my brother up from school. We go to the video station. We would first off, we would go by, place an order at the Little Caesars for some pizza. While that was being made, went to the video station, got some movies, got some games, and then come back pick the Little Caesars up. And then basically, it was Friday was pizza night and video games. And after video games, movies. You can't really beat that. It's like how many like Stargate for the 50th time. And,
Why
Stargate.
not?
Exactly. Why not? It's like
Why not?
it was like Stargate and God help us. It was like Stargate and like Super Mario Brothers, the movie. That was my brother's choice. I kind of I felt
You'll
bad.
watch it. It's not the
Yeah,
best.
it was like, and we didn't realize it at the time that that was actually filmed down in Wilmington, so not too far from. We actually knew would drive right by where the place was where they filmed it. It's so weird. It's like we didn't know it at the time,
Damn.
but it was filmed in this old concrete factory. It's actually outside of Wilmington, North Carolina. But yeah, it's like these, that stuff. The idea of going out and doing something like that, and you'd run into people you knew or meet new people. Now everything's like so insulated. Eventually, it's gonna be like everybody's gonna live in a cube, in a super city, and it's gonna be like an episode of Black Mirror. It's gonna be miserable, it's and that kind of depresses me a little bit because it's like I miss the days of actually going out and finding, like, there's certain stuff that isn't on streaming, whether it be Amazon or Netflix. I got rid of Netflix because the quality of their content as well as what they had was just not up to snuff, and I'm not paying $8 a month to just be, like, have it around for maybe a rainy day. But
I think we're
uh,
just keeping it around to watch The Office continuously.
well, I actually have the first was it the first 4 seasons of The Office on DVD. Like, same thing, like the first, like, about the same as Always Sunny. So it's like I can watch it anytime I
Yeah,
want.
it's good to have that kind of stuff at your fingertips.
Yeah, it's like it is, and it's like, but going back and finding those gems, like those VHS gems, like, what the hell? Like, actually seeing the box art and picking it up and flipping it, like, what in the world? Take that up
There
to
was
the counter.
actually a vendor like that at Comic-Con.
There was.
Yeah, he was selling, I guess, like bootleg stuff, pretty much. That's what it looked like.
Oh, well, and it's like that happens. I mean, I know they cut down over at Heroes Con. They've cut down in Charlotte the content of the bootlegs and stuff. Like, they've cut down bootlegs. Well, a lot of people probably don't do it that much anymore, considering it's not that common to actually have physical media, whether it be DVDs or what have you. And it's harder to burn Blu-rays than it is DVDs. But
For
I
now.
yeah, for now. Well, hell, I mean, I'm surprised people ain't selling like USB drives at these things. Like, here's $50. Here's 100 movies on the USB drive. And then
Boom.
you.
Yeah, it's gonna happen. Yeah.
I would. I mean, I actually be kind of interested. Like, the little micro SD cards and everything. Like, you got like one of those little, say, like a 60 gig SD card. Like, there you go. Like, that's like 10 movies. 10 movies for $10 and or something like that, whatever the things cost. But yeah, it's like I, it comes down to it. It's like I miss that tactile experience, miss the offline experience, miss single player games being great. Like, they make that was the thing, that was the focus. Now it's like, let's throw a single player campaign in there for maybe somebody. It's like, I think the only reason they did that for Battlefield One is because the backlash, from well, no, it wasn't. No, they already started on it, so it wasn't the backlash from um, uh, Star Wars Battlefront. It wasn't that, but it's like stuff like that. It's like that, like where the first one, they were like, we'll throw a we'll throw these like extra maps, but no, we don't need no single player. Who needs that? That's more of that aspect. There's no incentive to, like, play offline. It's like Destiny could have had a real good single player, you know. But
Destiny could have been a lot of things.
oh
I
my god,
Don't
I
get me
and,
started on that.
oh god, I told my brother, I said, I will throw your Xbox One into the trash. So I'll come over there, I'll throw your Xbox One in the trash. I'll find out if you download it. I'll know because I'll look and I'll look and see what you've been playing, and if it says Destiny 2, we're gonna have a problem because it's like, oh, I'll never play that, and I'm like, you better keep
It's
your
only a
word.
matter of time.
Exactly. Like, the fact that there's like they spent $1 billion on that game, and it went nowhere. Like, where's the $1 billion proof? $1 billion. It's like Metal Gear Solid 5, even though it had a lot of issues and it kind of broke me with Metal Gear Solid, I stopped having interest in it. It only cost 85 million. 85. And you granted it wasn't finished, but $1 billion Activision and and Bungie spent on that damn game, and it doesn't show it. Like
I'm not sure where it went. Yeah, I don't
lines of cocaine, my friend, cocaine and hookers. It
see a
had to
game
be.
that's made, it's helped being put out by a bigger company that's actually worked with World of Warcraft, and it's like, why don't you make a big game like that? I think Destiny limits itself when it, only gives you a couple worlds to go to. It's like, give me a fucking universe to go to.
Yeah, I mean, you
And
could
I
do
felt like
that.
that's what Destiny was selling me on in the beginning, that it was going to be this big, vast deal, and it's really feels much smaller than that.
Yeah, you got what, the Cosmodrome, you got
Just little rooms you
Mars.
can go to.
Yeah, you got Cosmodrome. You got Russia, Mars, the Moon, Venus. That's the what do you call it? The spaceship. The whatever.
Spaceship?
Yeah,
That's a
the
good name
spaceship.
for that.
I forgot the
Yeah.
name of it. It was one of
No,
the
no,
DLCs.
spaceship. Just don't name it. Just call it the spaceship.
Spaceship, and then however many dungeons you
Spaceship.
got, and each little area has dungeons. So you got maybe what 10 dungeons each, so maybe 50 to 100 dungeons total, 5 places, and that's basically it. That's all you really have. And at the end of the day, that's lazy. That's really really lazy. That's you know, it's like when they put out that game, The Division. I was like, oh, this will be good. I did everything like 2 weeks and I was done. There was like nothing else to do except just run around, go to a dark zone, and that was it.
It's one of
And
those games you might need people to play with,
well,
and I tell you, I never see a lot of people, my friends list, playing that game, or back when it first came out anyway.
I had, like I said, I had my brother and I had a friend of his, and that friend, we one time we had 4 people. We had 4 people running around, and even then, it was just like, there's nothing to do, guys. We're just running to a dark zone and defend this while we got to get this package out of here, and that's it. I was like, that's
Rinse,
all.
repeat.
Yeah, exactly, and that's it. That was it. There was nothing else going on. There wasn't like a horde, like a straight up horde mode or something. There was nothing like you do this like stealthy mission, go over here, do this, do that. No, it was just like you said, just like like rinse repeat, same thing over and over. And I like things to be a little different. I like to toss it up a bit. Let's do something crazy. Let's do something a little off the wall, maybe know, have a little story, like kind of story elements, little stuff like that. But
Make
it's
things a
hard to
little
get.
more organic instead of being funneled to the next task. You
Yeah,
know,
it's like something with character growth. They make it organic. It's like whether it be games, stories, like movies, comics, what have you. The organic character growth and actually have that aspect to it. It's like when they go in like uh, let's say in comics they introduce a new character. It's like they did that with that Riri Williams character. And she's going to be like they basically, and then people saw it come. It's like, oh yeah, they're going to make her the new Iron Man. They're going to, and then like 2 issues later, she was like Iron Man, or whatever they called her. It should have been Iron Maiden, but they,
yeah,
but that's
couldn't
actually
do
they.
that one though. Nope.
Well, it actually could though because they did that in Earth X, the Alex Ross, Jim Kruger, John Paul Leon comic Earth X. There's a female Iron Man named Iron Maiden. So that does have precedence. So it's like it could make sense, like that. She could be Iron Maiden, and it's like this. She's she's super smart, but she steals, which is kind of crazy. It's like okay, so she's so smart, but she's still got to steal. She can't like
She's edgy.
yeah,
She's
she's
edgy,
edgy.
dude.
It's like
But
I look at this like if she was so smart, I would be using that money, like going like using my brains to make money off of like gambling or something, or like like going like like sports betting or something, making money off of that. It's like kind of Biff without the sports almanac. But when it comes down to the like these characters, like and same thing with games and like storytelling bits, be organic, make it feel organic, even if it isn't, even if it's unnatural, make it feel organic. And that's kind of what I liked about that Horizon Zero Dawn. That was really organic. It felt I had some issues, but other than like it was good. It was a solid game. It once you start opening up the world a bit, like go exploring and you can like kind of jump around a bit more. It doesn't feel as big. The story's great. It actually made me like there's some story element stuff, and it made me go around and find every little bit of story, like these little like
this
logs
is
and
only
stuff.
on a PlayStation, right?
Yeah, the PS4, which is like, but PS4, it's like they got their exclusives are weird. They have that, and that was good, and that's pretty much it. That's the only thing on there that was like I think even worthwhile. Oh wow, they got Uncharted. You mean Shimmy Shimmy the game? Shimmy Shimmy
Dude, they got
multiple
a ton of
cutscene.
other games that don't come to the Xbox that I've been kind of interested in. although
well,
I can't remember any names offhand.
there was that The Last of Us was to me very boring. It was this
Well,
over.
I'm
It
not
was
after
very
that kind of stuff. I
yeah.
mean,
It was
I'm not trying to drag that shit down. I'm not saying it's not good. It's just not for me.
yeah. It's like I was like, oh, this game's getting so much praise. Let's see if it's actually worthwhile. Didn't like it. I didn't like it. I was like, this is overrated. It's kind of like, oh, you really feel for the characters. It's like, okay, the guy's daughter, the guy's daughter. Yeah, it's like I'm like I don't feel for these people. It's like the guy's daughter dies, and it's like and he's like, oh, he's a grumpy old man, and he meets, it's like he meets this girl, and got to take the girl to basically to save the human race, and so he basically damns the human race because he's found a surrogate daughter. And I'm like, okay, who cares? And Uncharted
I
games,
mean, we're humans. We're selfish. It's in our nature at
yeah,
times to be that way,
it is, but it was like it felt very,
even
it
when
was
you
like,
think it's noble.
yeah, it's just it. There was like sneak, sneak, sneak. Oh, I know I got to shoot. Oh, you got to craft this. You got to craft that, and it was like they didn't go full tilt. It didn't feel like full tilt crafting. Like they like gave it their all. And that's why the same people did the Uncharted games, but and the Uncharted stuff is like, hey, let's do like a. It was like a bland. Let's do bland Tomb Raider. That's basically what it was. No dinosaurs, no big-breasted women kicking ass with dual wielding pistols. Doing backflips and then dual wielding. Like
No
that was
boobs, Larry.
no boobs, unfortunately. Hey, that's the new Tomb Raider. It's like somebody said, like to cast a young. So I was like,
I saw that guy made that comment. Holy cow. He
oh my
really
god,
stirred
that's
up the
great.
fucking ant bed, didn't he?
Oh my god, yes. He's like
He
basically it's like
stepped off in it.
they cast like a young boy. It's like they cast a young boy for like the actress. I've seen her in other stuff, and I enjoyed her in other stuff. When they said, "Oh, she's gonna be Lara Croft," I'm like, no, no, she's not. She is not Lara Croft. As much as I'm not the biggest Angelina Jolie fan. She looked more like Lara Croft. She could actually have
I
that.
was thinking they should have went after the woman who did the actual voiceover for the game.
She
I
looks
thought
like
maybe
Lara Croft. That's the thing. She actually looks like a
yeah.
grown ass woman, a very, very striking grown ass woman. But that's quite unfortunate that that's the case. That they say, well, they can't even get a British actress. They got like she's like Dutch. You know, she's like from the Netherlands, and it's like at least get somebody with an actual British accent. Whether it be Welsh or English or whatever, like, something. But yeah, it's like you go like when they do these movies, it's like I know they're like this will just be like, oh, see, nobody cares about women in film or nobody cares about video games. Like you people screwed up. You took a character that when they did that first, the reboot Tomb Raider game, they did that because it had been muddled down for so many years. Like it went from being the first three games are fantastic, Tomb Raider 1 through 3, fantastic, and then they had to go and muddle it down. And yeah, it's like why take I understand take the aspect like, hey, we have to go and make it more kind of the Christopher Nolan it. They Nolan Tomb Raider, we
Tomb
gotta make
Raider
it.
begins.
Tomb Raider begins. Where are the other artifacts going? Why?
What's in
But
the cave?
here's my bow and arrow. Like it's like and it was just I missed that. Like I missed the teal top and the khaki shorts and the boots and the shades and the hair. I missed that. I missed that
You
look.
miss the camp aspect of that character.
Yeah, it's like what like it's like what when it came out like, in the '90s. It was very like I understand people were even back then because you still had the girl power stuff going on in the '90s, very
It still
politically
had that.
correct.
It still had a lighter touch to it, though. That's the
Yeah, I
thing.
mean, battling dinosaurs and mystical Spider-Man. Like, what the hell? It's like really weird. It's a really weird series, but it's great. It's really fun, and I that fun from games. It seems like a lot of it's got sapped away for the most part, or they go overly goofy. But yeah, yeah, Rodrigo. Yeah, the movie's getting crushed on Rotten Tomatoes. Good. Let it get crushed. Let people destroy it. It needs to be destroyed.
Rotten
It's
Tomatoes ruin people's lives.
it does. It's like but Rotten Tomatoes is like really weird though because they're like I finally got around like this is like a while back, but did you ever see the Josh Trank Fantastic Four film?
Yeah, I did. I
What'd you
sat
think
down
of it?
and I forced myself to watch it. But I'll tell you what, if if I didn't know it was supposed to be a Fantastic Four movie, I wouldn't have thought it was so bad. I just feel like maybe he wanted to do something else entirely, and maybe he should have just did that instead of trying to make a Fantastic Four movie. I mean, you're going into something that's already got a history. It's already got, all this stuff built into it. It's not something that you can just walk in and be like, "Hey, I don't fucking like any of this shit. I'm gonna make a science fiction movie, about this group of kids." I mean, it's basically what he did.
Yeah,
I mean, it wasn't
some
super bad. It's just not. It's not the Fantastic Four.
well, see me like as considering over the years the comics. I mean, you had like good comics, you had good, good Fantastic Four books, bad
There's
Fantastic Four
been good
books.
runs, and there's been the ones you don't write home about. Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
it's the mediocre ones as well. The ones where like they're
And
serviceable,
I
but
think
that's
that can
about
be
it.
said for almost everything that's ever came out. It's always had a time where it wasn't, super memorable. That's not the stuff you're putting on your wall.
But for me, it's like pretty much since uh the Lynn Wein, that was Lynn Wein, Dave Cockrum, Claremont Byrne, X Men, that era, like the giant size X Men, until pretty much Grant Morrison, like that. There was a little get that was that period in like late '99, 2000 when X Men was like really rough. Like that was like Cable was basically having like magic powers at that point. He had a spear instead of his guns. It was really dumb.
Come on,
But
dude. I like the spear. Come on.
oh, you did. Oh, what?
I
No.
like, and I will say at that time I enjoyed the more of the Apocalypse, Nate Gray storyline that was going on,
Yeah,
12 and all
that
that.
was that was not
See
that
that
bad.
in my mind that was kind of a throwback to some of the older storytelling. Anytime I feel like Apocalypse is involved, you're kind of dipping into that old well of storytelling
And if you do
that
them
I
well,
think the
if you
bigger
do them
X-Men
well,
stuff. Yeah, if you do
it's
it well. I'm not saying it's been done well since,
not
but
really. It really hasn't.
like whenever you bring Apocalypse into the equation, I feel like it's a home run. I mean, you can fuck it up though, obviously.
Well, did what got me was after Operation Zero Tolerance, how good that was with the whole with Bastion and everything, and then that the 12 and they them
And it
quote
was like
unquote
night
becoming
and day. That's
Cyclops.
the difference between those two arcs because Zero Tolerance was more of a X-Men. They were trimmed down to nothing. It was more about them than, all the other things around them.
Yeah,
And
it
they
was
had
like
lost all these crutches,
the X Mansion was it was stripped rare or whatever. You mean stripped out? It's like nothing was in it. They took Bastion and them took the Cerebro. They had the human Sentinels, human hybrid Sentinels, which
no
was like really
Professor
cool.
X.
Professor X was in the Hulkbuster base. Wolverine had the
He
adamantium
was Bone Claw.
shackles.
He was the Bone Claw Wolverine, yeah.
Yeah, he was. He had the adamantium shackles, so he couldn't
It
even
was a
pop through
much
that.
It was a
Um,
more raw form of the X-Men. You had
it
what,
was.
Marrow? She was pretty edgy at the time. Yeah.
Yeah, and I like Marrow, and I like the idea that Cecilia Reyes gets dragged into it, and she's a mutant, but she's like she doesn't like mutants, she hates
She's a
mutants.
sideline. She's a sideline person. Yeah.
Yeah, and she is, but she's got that medical knowledge, and she's in.
She's
It's like
being forced to become proactive.
exactly, it's like getting dragged into it because of Iceman, and you had like all these little things going on, and like when there's like this blind man out in the desert, and that's when they escape the Hulkbuster base, and when it's like Jubilee, Wolverine, Cyclops, and Jean. They escape the Hulkbuster base. There's this old blind man out in the desert, like Arizona, like drinking. He's not really old. He's like in his like 40s or something, 30s, 40s, but he's like got bandages over his eyes. And turns out he's been they injected him like nanomachines to turn him into a basically if he detects mutants. Like he'll turn into like a sentinel and like it overrides his body, so he's kind of like an agent. Like it's like I think it's pre Matrix. So yeah, he turns basically into a sentinel and starts attacking them and stuff. Like that was a pretty cool idea, using humans as like because
Sleeper
it's
agents. Yeah.
sleeper agents. Yeah, because like it's one thing to destroy a giant robot. You don't have no sympathy for that. But you have
Yeah, and it's another thing to try to kill something that has a soul
it's
or
like somebody that's
used to
been
have a soul.
forced to become this. Like they didn't choose to be these sentinels. Like not all. I feel like some of them probably did, but for the most part they didn't. It's like they were like unwillingly duped into becoming this. But like that was good story element stuff. That's like, it's like
Like, what
with
do you do? I mean, you don't want to hurt this person because they probably didn't have a choice in the matter. But then again, it's like, man, our backs against the wall. We got to survive right now, and
exactly
you're the
you,
bad guy.
that's good. I mean, that's good storytelling bits because the more trimmed down,
Conflict.
like, yeah,
That's
the
what
more
you're looking for.
that conflict, yeah, because that kind of reminded me of like when the X-Men were in the Outback, that kind of stripped down aspect to it a little bit. During the fall of the mutant, after the fall of mutant stuff, the Outback era of X-Men uh with oh damn it, um uh not Spiral, um the Aborigine with the teleportation ability,
Oh, I know you're talking. Man, I just had his name, and then I forgot it. Uh, we're
but
gonna remember. We're gonna remember.
uh,
Gateway. No, that's not his
Gateway, yeah,
name.
it is Gateway, yeah, it is
It
Gateway,
is
ain't it?
Gateway. He had the
I'm
little
pretty sure.
slingshot thing he used to whiz around. I remember that.
Yeah, the Ataladdle, I think it's called. I want to say it's. Let me see, Gateway Mutant X-Men. I'm pretty sure it's him. Let me check. And I'm checking, and it is Gateway, dude. You got it.
Boom.
Yeah, you got it.
Aiming for the fence, man.
Yeah, man. Like home run, home run. But yeah, it's like with these characters. I mean, a lot of people like that kind of stuff. Like that, it sticks with you. And I miss that era of reading comics. Like even though I knew it was bad, I read some of the Clone Wars stuff back in the day. Like, and there was an issue. It was the one where this is after this is Peter gave over the Spider-Man mantle to Ben Riley, and Ben Riley was going
So he
around
could
this
be with Mary Jane. Yeah, I know what you're
yeah,
talking about.
with Kane's talking after him and everything, and that's funny how that Kane
Big
predated
brother.
the Kane. Yeah, that Kane predated the Kane in WWF, which is just kind of funny. And it's like when that Kane showed up, it made me think of the Spider-Man Kane. It was really weird, but yeah, it's like I like that idea of him like just like, all right, you're Spider-Man now. I'm gonna be with Mary Jane, and it's like try to get out, but they pull me back in, and it was this kind of really cool aspect to it.
It
And
was
I'm
a
a sucker
fresher.
for
It was a fresh Spider-Man, if you think about it.
it.
I
Was it?
mean, it was a different set of baggage than what the Peter was that went to be with Mary Jane. This is a guy living with self-doubt. Living with the ghost, thinking I'm not as good as Peter, or just self-doubt in general.
Yeah, and it was like one of those interesting ideas that they did for a bit, and then they got a little self conscious, and they said, okay, we got to kill off Ben Riley, and then we got to kill off.
No.
They killed him off, and then they killed off they never really did anything with it, but the you know Peter Mary Jane's baby, they did
Yeah.
that, which was just the dumbest thing. It's like it shows how these people, they don't have any. It's like either your comics actually, things actually improve, like there's actually progress in the books, or there is none. It's like, okay, we got to reset the status quo every few years. All right, you want to do that?
Well,
Then it gives you no incentive to build upon the legacy, and actually
then I feel
have
like
like,
you got to pick and choose the things you do, and I feel like maybe that's one of those things you don't touch if you're not willing to go all the way on something like that. Don't bait people with it. You can still
yeah,
tell good stories without you know planting the wrong kind of seeds that you're deliberately gonna fucking kill.
yeah. It's like with Spider-Man and Mary Jane, they could have set up the fact that like that's the thing. Like people think that it's like, it's hard to write marriages. Marriage is a lot of drama at times. You can have them two working together, and you have sometimes marriage is going fine, and then the marriage starts kind of going there's issues. Peter, I came up with this plot idea for a Spider-Man story of Mary Jane, their daughter, Mary Jane, Peter, and their daughter's like dating, Franklin Richards, or seeing him on the side, and it's kind of this, kind of family drama stuff. It's like, first off, you shouldn't be out using your powers. You don't know how to use them properly yet, and you're not. It's like, she's like, well, you were out there swinging around as Spider-Man when you were my age, and that kind of thing. Like that would a good way to throw it back in
You
his
go to
face.
your room.
Yeah, go to your room, and it's like, she's like moping, and she's on the ceiling, and like tears are falling on the floor because she's like crying, like I just want to be understood. She's got the little teenager thing going on. It's like that would be kind of
He's
cool.
trying to keep her safe though because he
Yeah,
knows.
And it's like somebody sees you out there, they're going to think, they're going to think they can get to, get to me by hurting you. And then like maybe Mary Jane, like the idea was like Mary Jane, she's been like she took like night courses and stuff, and she was not this just this beautiful redhead, but she was smart too. And this idea of her actually going and like maybe coming up with something like a kind of spider formula, kind of like similar to like to get power. So she's not just the odd one out. Or Peter has powers, and Mayday has
Have you read
powers.
the? I guess the what is it? The
Renew
new
your
Spider-Man
vows. That's
series?
that's
Yeah.
basically that's kind of what I was going like. Kind of like, but this would be like mainline the Marvel universe. Like my
Oh,
idea.
you mean this would be in the real universe and not in
Yeah,
some pocket
not some like
universe?
what if pocket. Yeah, it's like where. But like my idea was like eventually she would sprout multiple arms, like
Oh
the
no,
man
you talking about when
spider.
he mutated? God.
Yeah, and so she's been injecting herself with this stuff because her science is not wrong, but like same thing that happened to Peter, where it's like where he eventually sprouted that because of the mutation from his powers, like that idea. It's like
I'm
and then
talking
he's
about
like,
going more mad scientist with this.
yeah, I think that'd be kind of fun. I mean, that'd be kind of, I mean, something you don't see within the comics, like that idea of you don't have to make his life so miserable. That's the problem with Spider-Man, is like the misery aspect of it. It's like the guilt, the constant guilt and misery, and like maybe like the resolution that Peter feels guilty for what happened to Uncle Ben for these many years. It's like maybe actually have like a resolution, and maybe they have, and I just haven't heard of it. But the like
Well, I
he
don't
for
think it's so much a resolution. I think that should always be there, but it shouldn't always be out in the open. I mean, Peter's always going to know that that's the mission. I mean, I think it's the same with Batman. I mean, he carries that with him. It's not like he's just going out every night because he wants to. He's going out every night because he can't let that happen again.
yeah, it's like with Peter, like
But
the
he's
idea
not
of
going out and saying that every night, you know? It's not being beat.
kind of horses and being flogged. But I like the idea of like Peter's like, okay, I started this because of the guilt I felt about letting like causing Uncle Ben's death, but I still do it because I know it's the right thing to do and it needs to be done. Because if I'm not doing it,
That's it
nobody.
right there.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's exactly what I mean. Yeah.
and then with Batman, it's like his war on crime. It's like this is a never-ending war on crime. It's like crime in any form, and
And Batman knows that.
yeah, Batman knows that. And the idea when if they try to break it, like with the movies, like oh no, like I'm going to give up my war on crime. It's like they almost got away with it. They pretty much got away with it in Mask of the Phantasm because he wasn't Batman yet. He had already made the pledge to fight the war on crime, and Andrea Beaumont, the who became Phantasm, she was like,
He needed a lesson to drive that home. He
yeah,
needed
it's
something to reaffirm his crusade, you
yeah,
know?
and then she was like, they were going to get married, and he's like, I deserve the right, I have the right to be happy, and he's like basically pleading with his, at the grave of Thomas and Martha, and then eventually Andrea leaves him, and so it's like he kind of like, all right, fine, I guess I'm gonna go home and war on crime, I'm gonna become Batman, and that's the end of that,
You can be
and
happy, but there's a price that will be paid.
yeah, it's like,
That's
but the
there it
first thing
is.
first. Yeah, but the first things first is the war on crime, and that's why with the Nolan movies, it never, I, not even Katie Holmes. Like I would be like, if I had a dedication to fighting never ending war on crime, even if Katie Holmes is like, oh, we could have a chance together, I'm like, nah, my war on crime comes first. It may not be, may not have a deep happiness, but my war on crime comes first. The same thing with Maggie Gyllenhaal. Like they're gonna say, if two men are fighting over her. I'm like, no, I don't think so. It's like some like it's two people fighting over Cabbage Patch doll like on Black Friday. It's like 1987. You know,
It needed that love aspect.
you needed a
They're trying to get more than one kind of audience in for that movie. That's
yeah,
what
you
that
need
kind of stuff is.
like a Betty Page or something. You need somebody that's like knocked down, drag out, gorgeous, like you, and that you actually got to know and love. It's like you kind of fell in love with her as well, and you're like, damn, I understand. But yeah, you can't have you both ways. It kind of like that's if Batman Begins and Dark Knight take a lot of stuff from like Mask of the Phantasm for the most part. With the Rachel Dawes, that's basically Andrea Beaumont, except didn't become Phantasm. That'll be kind of interesting if they do like a live action version of Mask of the Phantasm a bit.
I
But
hope they don't, Larry. Don't touch
I,
it. Leave it alone.
yeah, well, they should.
Don't you touch it.
Don't touch it. But
Good
yeah,
lord, it's perfect the way it is.
though I
I
don't
feel like
trust.
they would
Uh,
muddle it up somehow.
oh, of course they would, but it's like I don't trust Deanie or Tim anymore because I found out how like Deanie and Tim have proved how like weird and twisted they are. Like they only work when they have like a standards and practices under them, like on top of them, keeping them down. Because with Tim, with the whole, I mean, really, everybody should have realized, hey, they created Harley Quinn. Oh, everybody loves Harley Quinn. Look at Harley Quinn. A They created a character who all she is, she's a crazy woman who gets beat up emotionally and physically by her boyfriend repeatedly, repeatedly. Not in a and like they play it for kind of laughs, and then like and they'll give her like, oh, she's going to be independent, and they walk it back by the end of the episode. It's like, oh, she's going to break free of the Joker, and it's this never-ending cycle, her being abused, and that's the legacy for them. And they also give the world of Renee Montoya, who became the Question, which is a much better character. But thankfully, they really had nothing to do with that. The character existed in the cartoon and came up in the comics, and then that character became, like it grew. But with Tim, with that Batman killing joke film, when they added the extra stuff in with the Batman and Batgirl banging on the roof,
Oh shit, dude,
that, that's Tim. That's Bruce Tim.
shit
Tim.
shit went up a notch, man.
Yeah, it's like I, I hate Killing Joke. That's one of my
It's
if
never been one
somebody's
of your favorite stories.
I hate that book so much. I hate it to it. I with a passion. Oh my god, I hate it. You know, and it would just I really I to, there's no point to the story. It's well drawn at times. The hate the Batmobile look. There's it's miserable. It's one of the it's oh god. And they're like, oh, it's the greatest story ever. I'm like, I want to smack them people. Like, yes, I know that's their opinion, but I just want to,
I
like,
wouldn't say it's the greatest, but I will say as a whole, as Batman stories goes, it's up there. It's not the best
oh,
though.
that hurts me, man. That hurts me. It's like a knife
I'm
in my
not
belly and
saying
twisted.
I'm only for saying Larry because of its uniqueness. It's not. It's different in what it's trying to do. I'm trying
Oh,
to be
yeah.
delicate here.
But other than that, but
It
with
doesn't have to be your Batman story, though, man.
no, it is not. Far from it. Far from it. Year one, Dark Knight Returns.
Hey, then that right
God,
there, in my opinion, that's my favorite Batman story. Is Year One.
oh, year one is it's not only just well illustrated, it's well written. The structure is great. That the kind of that
It's the
bridge,
ground level Batman that Batman Begins should have been.
yeah, it is like and that kind of that connection between Gordon and and you kind of figure out the end because Dark Knight Returns came out before, and Dark Knight Returns they Bruce and Jim Gordon, and they're talking to basically, oh, we believe that you were, basically Jim Gordon, saying, like, I knew you were Batman the entire time, but I just knew you were doing the right thing. And you find out like in year one, like when Bruce jumps off the side of the bridge to save uh, Commissioner Gordon's son, and and so Commissioner Gordon's like, oh, I don't have my glasses, so I can't see you. Clearly, he's basically given Batman an out, given Bruce an out. So it's like, I don't know who you are, though
Well,
he
I felt
does.
like that was for your interpretation as well, and that's why I like that part
Well, that's what
because
that's what like I got from it because it's
maybe
like
Gordon didn't at that point. I think Gordon didn't care.
it's like well he it's at that
Maybe
point I
that's not the
think it
right
was like,
word.
well, he's like maybe he knew, but it's like he's his heart's in the right place and he's doing good. He saved my son, that kind of thing. It's like, you know what, I'm gonna give this guy a pass. It's like, yes, he's a vigilante, but considering the commissioner and the rest of the police force are murderers and corrupt, you know
Like
what?
he
Maybe
just
you
did
need
something for me after we've been basically
trying to
trying to get him. You
to
know him.
kill him, yeah, to outright kill him. It's like, you know what, this guy's a good dude. But yeah, with I mean, with the Batman stuff and the rest of you know that that stuff, I'm just going through and thinking like the No Man's Land and how good No Man's Land is. Yeah, Rodrigo. Yeah, they would have ruined Andrea like they ruined Mister Freeze. They've ruined Mister Freeze in New 52, where they made him. He looks like a really shitty version of Sub Zero. Like if Sub Zero was like
That's awesome.
No,
That's
no, it's
definitely the evolution of that character I was looking for.
you know they took in the New 52 origin. They because the classic origin that the animated series gave him, with the Nora Freeze and the trying to save his wife and then everything like that. Because that's the origin. That was the origin for the cartoon.
That's what it should always be, in my
And
opinion.
the New 52, they basically made him somewhat of a serial killer. Like he let his mother die by falling into
Had the
this
spike to
ice.
punch, huh?
And oh, worse, it gets worse.
It gets worse.
The woman he's going after, she's a woman that went like cryostasis, and he never actually talked to her. So he's like this obsessive stalker kind of guy.
So
Even though
now he's
she's
fucking crazy.
yeah, he's a crazy. They made him a crazy person, and they gave him short sleeves. His outfit has short sleeves now, but it's
That's
like
what he. So he's pissed. He's perpetually pissed off because he's cold. He doesn't have a long sleeve shirt.
exactly. You can borrow my sweater, something like that. But it's like, oh my god, it's
This
just
sounds like a home run, dude.
they don't know what they're doing. DC, there are bits where there times I'm like, they know what they're doing, and then there's times like, what the fuck you doing, guys? It's like for every Justice League Gods and Monsters, you get Superman Doomsday or Superman, Batman Killing Joke, the animated thing, and like stuff like that. For
Oh,
every
that
good one,
Superman Doomsday is
that's the
man.
worst.
I had high hopes for that, especially when they first showed the box art for it. And I was like, yeah, I was like, that looks good. That looks like something. That looks
I thought
the way it should be. And then the movie came out. I'm just like, what the fuck is this?
it should have been like a straight up, like
Adaption.
yeah, straight up adaptation. Every bit of it,
I
including
mean, I
like Death in Return.
understand if you need to thin it out in some aspects. I get that, but I really don't think you should.
You shouldn't. You really shouldn't. And at the end of the day, they screwed the pooch with that. And like the DC New Frontier, I used to like it, and then like I watched it like two or three times, like, yeah, not so much anymore. Because it's like how aggressive can we get? They wanted that movie to be so aggressive, like they made it bloody and extra violent for no good reason. That isn't in the comics. They just added it to it.
Yeah, that
So
was supposed to have the what was it, PG-13 or some shit.
yeah, they wanted to have like the extra, like I guess to bump it up a little bit.
Edgy.
Yeah, it's like, but I mean, though when they did
Throw a
like,
little dirt on it.
yeah, grind it in with your heel, like grind it in, like. But I don't know if did you ever see the Dark Knight Returns movie? Like they did two parts of it.
The two-part deal. Yeah, and
Yeah,
I like that. I liked it. I
I did too.
especially like the guy who did RoboCop's voice, or the guy who did
Peter Weller,
RoboCop did the
Peter
voice for
Weller,
Batman, Peter Weller. Yeah,
and I love. I mean, the Michael Emerson, the guy who Ben from Lost, who voiced the Joker.
yeah, I
That
liked it. Yeah, I definitely
that
liked
gave me
his.
creeps, man. Everybody says like Mark Hamill, like Michael Emerson, because he had that. It's like that kind of almost. It was not sing-songy, but it made the hair on the back of my neck stand up. Mark
It
Hamill
was
never did that
more.
for me. It was like,
I
but it
feel
was
like it's
subtle.
more subtle, crazy. Yeah,
Exactly like that kind of crazy where it's like, oh no, I'm gonna die, and I was like, breathe it in, Dave. Breathe it in. Like, oh, yep, all right, we got a winner here. It's like, and the
this guy is crazy.
he is, and the whole the saying operating table is saying a trash heap is operating table, and I'm the surgeon. He just
Man, that part was
proceeds.
fucking hardcore, dude.
He
God,
disassembles them piece by piece, and everybody's like, and they just like, but they did it like how they did in the comic, where if you were to do it, they didn't like linger on it too long, but they did it the proper amount to show because the mutant leader fucked Batman up. He really fucked him up, and it's like, I can't just beat you. I have to prove to everybody no, if I could beat you, I could beat the rest of you. So you're gonna do what I say. And
it's time to send a message. Yeah, exactly.
yeah, it's I want to see something. I want to see something like that. I know there's a new Suicide Squad movie coming out, new like animated Suicide Squad. I like the last one, that Assault on Arkham, though it's like tied into the
I
Arkham.
haven't watched that one.
That's actually really good. It's actually I guess it ties into it Assault on Arkham, Suicide Squad, Assault on Arkham, or Batman Assault on Arkham, which is really a Suicide Squad film, basically ties into the Arkham series games. Like they have the Bane looking the same way he does in the games and certain stuff like that. And
So
it
there's
was
a continuity.
yeah, there's a continuity to it, and it was a pretty pretty solid game. It was basically, I was thinking, oh, the Suicide Squad movie is basically going to be this, and it wasn't much different. It was like a much better version of Suicide Squad, of course, the live action Suicide Squad. But it was, I know they got a new one coming out, but apparently it's not the same continuity. And I've not seen the Judas Contract. I haven't seen, um, like
Judas Contract, isn't that a Titan storyline?
yeah, they put it they put it an animated feature. Apparently that I think that's either coming out or it's already come out. But yeah, it's like Snyder retcon Freeze to his classic origin again, and All Star Batman more or less. Yeah, smart man Scott Snyder. I know it was Scott. Yeah, Scott Snyder, not Zack Snyder. I get confused. Scott Snyder is the comic writer. Scott Steiner is Big Papa Pump.
Scott Steiner, you mean the Steiner brothers, huh?
The Steiner recliner. Yeah. Oh my god. Got 25 and 33. Yeah, I said it. Like, fat
Where are all
ass.
my freaks?
Oh my god. Wearing that chainmail like helmet thing or
Scott
whatever.
Steiner
Like,
had style. He was a comic book character in himself.
oh my
that
god,
golf
he
ball
was.
for a muscle on his arm. Good lord.
Oh my god, I came across
Scott
that
Steiner.
Lex Luger in a Superman costume. It's from the Superboy TV show, and he was like Lex
That's not
Luger
good.
as Superboy Mark II, and he had the mullet and everything. It's like he was the first guy to have the mullet, man. It's like he predated, the '90s Superman. So it's like
Lex Luger's a goon.
Lex Luger. Yeah, it's so great, man. Like old school like wrestling stuff in '90s. Like I kind of want. I've had this. I know it's going to be bad, and I've been avoiding it, but I really want to go back and watch Lois and Clark Nowitzki's Superman. I know it's going to be bad.
I think it's great, dude. It's everything that you want it to be.
Well, I know that the season one it's a little hit and miss at times. Season one, but I know that
I think season one, it felt like it's up and down, and I feel there's some good episodes, and then there's some that are you're just like, wow. I mean, what's going on here?
Well, and I know was it season 3 or season 4? I think in the season 3 that's when it's not Death and Return of Superman, but it's close. He eventually does come back with a black suit, which is kind of cool. I was like, yeah, black suit Superman.
I mean, that was the stuff that was going on at the time. They were trying to
like tie into it,
cross over. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like, I mean, but when they cut Terry Hatcher's hair, it kind of hurt me. I'm like, oh, why did they have to cut her hair? It's like the shoulder length was great, and they had to go and do the bob cut. I mean, she's still beautiful, but it's like, come on, long hair Terry Hatcher. If you're a Terry Hatcher
fan, it was the
fan,
times, dude. It was the times.
Damn '90s. The '90s gave and they took. They give and they take away. It's like
there was mullets everywhere, as far as the eye could see, and then it was almost like overnight there was no mullets left.
The mullets.
The mullets went into hiding.
The mullets went back to their home planet. Poochie went back to their home planet and died on the way.
They had to get out of here.
No, they went to Russia. Mullets went to Russia. If you ever seen, there's a photo of some guy, and it's like, that's Russia. And the reason I could tell, it wasn't the Cyrillic writing. It was a guy with a mullet. And
boom.
His hair was very, it was like someone used conditioner, but it was mullet. It's like just because their hair is very thin. Like, not thin, but very silky.
They haven't
very
given
silky.
up.
They haven't given up. The mullet's still alive in the old USSR, but man, I miss I kind of miss the old days of we had even that electric blue Superman. I kind of like that costume.
I like that suit. Yeah, I definitely. I feel like when that suit was drawn right by the people who actually created that suit, it looked good.
Yeah, it's like
pajamas.
It stood out. It really stood out. But and I understand
the story was poor execution.
Oh yeah, damn right. It's like that was really rough. It's like, and it kind of made it rough reading Grant Morrison's Justice League, because if the first couple issues of Justice League, it's mulleted Superman, and then like 6 or 7, then it's electric blue Superman, and then that's over, and it's like back to. It was so all over the place. That's the problem.
That whole run was all over the place. I mean, you had at one point we had Superman fighting angels, which. I mean, I thought it was an interesting little, arc in itself.
Yeah, that was one of those. Dream from Sandman shows up. Well,
these are characters that don't show up very often.
Well, Dream's been showing up in that new DC.
No, yeah, Metal. Yeah, he was in Metal. Yeah, I'm just saying in general, these are characters that don't
Yeah,
usually
which is
cross
good.
over.
Well, there's a really good. It was Action Comics run, written by Paul Cornell, and Paul Cornell's done some good stuff, and then he's done some stuff. I was like, but this was one of the best things he did was Action Comics run, Action Comics starring Lex Luthor called The Black Ring, and it's basically just a Lex Luthor story, and
This is when he's
and
wanting
one
to go after a power ring, right?
yeah the Black Power Ring, the
After
black
he lost the orange ring,
yeah, and it's basically that, and it's the Death
he's just
shows
like
up.
fucking Golem, dude. He wanted his ring back.
Precious. But yeah, it's like Death, of the Dreaming shows up, which is pretty cool. Like she shows up only for like one issue, but it was like really cool to see that happen. I was like, oh, that's nice. Like they're actually kind of letting the worlds bleed in a little bit, not keep it 100% separate. But yeah, stuff like that. That's great when it's done properly. But you look at
It's good
like
when they bring in that extra layer of the DC universe that you don't see very often. And I feel like Marvel had that at maybe at a point in time, and then they were just like, "Fuck it, anything can happen. We'll make the Punisher Ghost Rider. It doesn't matter."
oh my god, they made Punisher War Machine, they made Punisher Ghost Rider, they made Punisher Frankenstein. It's like
The
they don't know
Punisher
what
can
they're
do
doing.
anything. That's
I
what it
hate
comes down to.
I hate the Marvel Universe version of the Punisher. Give me Marvel Max. They're going around killing rapists and murderers and human traffickers. Like Punisher Born, oh, amazing stuff. I mean, Tiger is really good. His little guest appearance in Nick Fury in A War Gone By, where he's like Nick Fury and him go out in the jungle and they just drop him off and he's out go killing like VC generals and stuff and NVA's got a
It's like
sniper
this is
rifle.
two guys. This is what they do, you know,
Yeah,
and it's almost different when you actually see them being put in the situations in which they were actually, forged and built.
yeah,
And I
it's
don't feel like
beautiful.
they do that very often. It's almost like they're afraid to take people off the leash. I mean, it's like this is what this character is, though.
It's like with Logan. Like Logan is Wolverine off the leash. Look, the loner who will brutally murder you if he has to. He'll like leave him be, and like it's like the animal. The animal will not strike out of nowhere. You have to be provoked, and like that kind of and like I'm just thinking of like if they had invested like say three Wolverine movies, and all three were rated R and Unchained. And not shackled by the PG-13 rating, or like we gotta add all the CGI claws clawing up a sink. That was the
Oh, that was
oh
so awesome. Oh, I loved it. I could have 20 more minutes of that, Larry. Him like fucking stumbling around like, I mean, come on. It doesn't get any better than that.
oh my god! But it's like the worst part. It's like there was so much potential there,
There
and
was there was there was parts of that movie that I felt like worked, but I mean, for the most part, that movie is bad.
oh my god! And well,
You get
the
to the. I was
Wolverines.
actually watching it a couple weeks ago, and
Oh
I
my,
got toward to the end where he's fighting Deadpool, Cyclops, that whatever the fuck that was, and you're just like, why am I here? Why am I doing this to myself?
oh my god!
I
Like
just
that.
turned off the TV and went to bed. I just couldn't believe it. It's like, what?
You have
What
to
is
stop.
wrong with you?
You understand that there's like I have a problem, and the problem is Wolverine Origins. And it was
I just
just
gotta stop watching bad movies.
that's a great game though. That the game is better
It
than the
is.
movie. That oh god, the
Yeah, I got that game. The game is legit. It's almost like Batman a little bit, the Arkham series Batman, with the senses and stuff like that and the combat.
yeah. It's I like Batman. I like the Arkham games. I can't grab somebody and impale them on a pole,
No, yeah.
or cut them in half. But yeah, it's I
I
mean
mean,
it's
you get to cut loose as Wolverine for once, you
yeah, it's
know.
like that. You don't really get to do that anything else. But the Wolverine was a really good film. The one where he's in Japan,
That wasn't
and
bad. I mean, I didn't like fucking Silver Samurai robot at the end, but I mean, for
I
what it
I
wasn't that
I
bad.
still I have issues with that still. But other than that, if you take that out of it, I mean, like if it was like standard Silver Samurai, teleporting Silver Samurai or something like the classic comic version
Yeah,
of Silver Samurai.
that's I wouldn't mind him. Yeah.
Yeah,
He
that
could
would
have
have
brought
been
in some
fantastic.
fucking asshole who, been like fucking Zapka the whole time, the Logan while he was
Oh god,
there.
yeah, it's like like when he was like standing around the Yoshida house
Yeah.
and he's like just busting like get this gaijin out of my
This is his
face.
Zapka. I mean,
Yeah,
we'll make Karate Kid featuring Wolverine.
Karate
I
Kid 2. Karate Kid 2
There
is
you
like
go.
it's like you got the
He's
fight
the outsider here.
dies.
No one likes him.
Yeah,
No one
I did.
believes in him.
I like that beginning. I like that beginning though. That right there. That was. I mean, I liked a lot of that film. I mean, like I'd say like I dislike some of it, but the all the ninjas firing arrows at him to slow him
Oh
down.
yeah, that
Oh
stuff
god.
that was cool.
And then
Yeah, definitely.
Yukio like over the snow machine, just like chewing people up, chewing ninjas up, and blood splattering walls. Like that was great. That was in the. I think it was only in the unrated version, but she's just driving around killing ninjas with like a snowplow machine. It's like it's great. It's like a snowblower, a giant snowblower,
Giant.
sucking
We're
ninjas in.
making snow cones for everybody.
Yeah, it's cherry flavored, yum. But yeah, it's good. It was just a that Viper chick. Yeah, that was no that she was
That
needed.
I feel like that right there was the most out of place thing in that whole movie. I would have preferred more if they were gonna go there in that story where they're at in that setting. There's tons of other characters that could have been used that would have done more service to, Japan, in that storyline instead of bringing in Viper. I
Yeah,
mean,
it's like
I'm not saying Viper doesn't have a place in the Wolverine story as a whole, but I mean, it not there. Come on now.
no, it would have been nice if they brought in like say Sunfire if they'd brought him in.
Yeah,
Like because Sunfire, like he was a prick. He was a prick in the beginning. He was a prick, throughout this run. I mean, every time he'd show up, he was a prick. Basically, there'd be times where he'd be kind of somewhat hospitable, but he was a prick. I could just see him like baking Wolverine, like using
he's
his.
the hotshot Human Torch for that area, pretty
Yeah,
much.
exactly. You don't mess with him. He's got his honor code. It'd be kind of cool to have that dragon mask, but they would never go that route because it's like a little too silly.
you
But
gotta, you gotta go, you gotta go all the way silly.
yeah,
I
you
feel
do.
like you
It's
gotta
like,
embrace it.
and the worst part they introduced at the end of the film, and then one of the deleted scenes, like Wolverine getting the costume.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I've seen that, dude. I
That
got
that
it. I'll always have it on my phone because
it's like what could have been. It's like that was actually like the brown gold, that golden orange brown costume. I was like,
it looked
damn it,
good.
why didn't you do it? And then they had to, in a way, to ruin the movie. The mid credit sequence that set up, Days of Future Past, that basically ruined the tone. It's like, oh, we're going on. Like, basically, the movie ends. We're going on our next adventure, and then no, we got Days of Future Past next.
Oh
It's like,
god. I
I
sat
hate
through
it.
that the other night too, dude. The
I hate that
apocalypse
movie.
one.
I
It's
hate
almost like I'm trying to beat myself up whenever that happens.
Days of Future Past is bad, and Apocalypse is worse. And Age of Apocalypse, I mean, it should have been Age of Apocalypse. It should have been Days of Future Past. Everything in there, it's like you have all this money. You couldn't do real Sentinels. You couldn't do the whole that Sentinel, like the classic night. And they were like that bullshit story bit where we got Kitty Pryde has got to use her intangibility powers to send the Wolverines back in the past. That
That
makes no
was the
sense.
worst.
You know what made more sense? Hey, we built a time machine, but nobody here can survive it. Kitty can't do it because she'll go intangible. Logan can't do it because it will just fry him. We need somebody to handle all the energies. Huh? Bishop, why don't you go? Like the cartoon, like Bishop goes back in the past, and the X-Men, they're holding it off in the future, kind of like the classic comic. Like they're holding all, Bishop's already in past, and if they succeed, they succeed. If if this basically ends, and they're and it's kind of like the episode of the X-Men episode where it's kind of Age of Apocalypse like, where Wolverine and Storm are a couple. I don't know if you remember that episode of the X-Men
No,
animated
I know what you're
series.
talking about. Yeah, I remember, especially the end when they're just kind of having their moment before they disappear
Before
from existence.
Exactly. Like, how cool would that have been? Like that kind of the aspect. And Bishop in the past looking like this kind of Mad Max looking Bishop from the future with his M scar and everything, and he ends up in the past because people don't realize he can take kinetic energy as well. So if you shoot him with a bullet, he could actually,
There's
you know,
still some energy coming off of that. Yeah,
exactly, and he can repair his body from that. So I think eventually he can be overwhelmed by too many maybe bullets or something. But I mean, him going back in the past and trying to explain to Xavier, like that would make much more sense. Like going to like a young Xavier who's like kind of disillusioned. His X-Men have been like drafted into the army to fight in Vietnam, which is an idea that they didn't even run with. How could you not do that? Showing mutants fighting the VC. They show him in a barracks. I'm like, you can't show Havoc killing VC with his mutant abilities. That's what they were
Yeah,
saying they did. It's
it's
like,
like you want to take us there, but you don't want to show us what's
yeah,
going
it's like
on.
they want to introduce the idea, but not do anything about it. And it's like, I know they did that Rogue cut where Kitty Pryde's wounded, and they got to get Rogue to use her powers to take
Oh, dude,
over
I
from
want to tell
Kitty
you
Pryde.
what, dude, that was
You watch that
lame.
version?
Yeah, I did.
Oh God.
It didn't make it any better, man.
Well, it's
It
like,
didn't
and
make
then
it any better.
it didn't. I had a
Not in
feeling
my
it wouldn't.
opinion.
And that focus on Mystique. Oh my God, that's the worst part. That's the worst part of these new films. I know because Jennifer Lawrence is Academy Award winning actress and she's all these movies. She I hate her. I hate her. I really
Well, I
do.
feel like
It's
when you're telling the story of the X-Men, why are you using one of their, I mean, for a time, B-level villains to be the vocal point, you know?
Yeah. It's like that was an interesting aspect with First Class, like the idea of her wandering, kind of her and Xavier kind of being buddy buddy, and then going separate ways with
I
Magneto.
thought that was fucking lame, dude.
I could I was
I mean, that
interested,
was the way to insert that into that story. I get it, you know,
and
but
I get that too. But it's like, and then but her bullshit about I can't be who I really am. I'm like, yeah, you can be anybody. You could do anything. You could be anybody, anything. Like you could be the best spy ever. You could make a ton of money. But what do? You complain about it. Oh, woe is me. I could be anybody. Where you got this blue furry motherfucker over here because he was trying to look out for you because you were so, I don't know if I want to be this way. So he goes and turns all blue and furry because of you. But,
an hour later, it's still the same deal.
yeah. It's like this
Then you start
mutant is
seeing
proud.
characters popping up that weren't even created at the time when the X-Men were created.
Yeah, that's like I really wish First Class. If I could do a do over, First Class would have really been the First Class. It would have been Angel,
Hmm.
Beast, Iceman, Jean, and Scott.
It wouldn't have been, hey, why don't we pick some of these mutants that are relevant now in the comic book so we can kind of capitalize on that aspect without doing any kind of real publicity.
Yeah, it's like when you look at, I guess the Summers family, they age really well considering Havoc is like what 20 in First Class, and then 20 years later, and
They really
X-Men
screwed the pooch
Apocalypse.
on that one, man.
He just
God,
looked like an
they,
old man. He's like 40. He's supposed to be like 40 something years old at that point. It's like that movie was bad. That movie was real bad.
I never quite understood why they flipped the whole aspect of Cyclops being the older brother in Havoc. I mean, that's almost it's important to their characters, you know, in that
yeah,
aspect and how they interact with each other. You know,
they're they
I don't feel
got
like it worked
separated.
flipped. Yeah,
Yeah, because Havoc got raised by a foster family that was set up by Sinister, and then Scott was in the orphanage, set up by Sinister. So he grew up, alone, and then Jean having like she's all withdrawn because she was inside of her friend's head when her friend died, and Bobby being the practical jokester because he was kind of stood out like a sore thumb, and Beast playing the role. He's like acting like he's like this dumb jock while he's like extremely smart in Warren Worthington. I like the idea like Angel. It's like he realized that he was like that's why the propositions from Apocalypse to when he his wings damaged and he gets turned into Archangel in the comics in the
I think
movie.
he appealed to his vanity more than
It
anything
did, but it's like
else.
it also made him actually a threat because when he was just Angel, all he could do he's just a bird. He's just a man bird.
Hmm.
They gave him a gun, and that was it. They gave him a gun. That's all
Apocalypse
he
gave
had
him
going.
claws when he didn't have anything.
Yeah, it was just he was lame. It really didn't that he was lame, but once they gave him metal wings and blue skin, and he could shoot feathers like knives. I mean, that was great. Like little flechettes. Like he could actually do something. He was actually a threat, and he could fly faster, and he was stronger. I'm like, his bone. Because I was thinking like the misery that would be to be Angel. Your bones would be like a bird's bones, like very weak. But once you become Archangel, like you're super strong, you fly faster, you can do a lot more damage. But you're potentially even after you defeat Apocalypse, you're a sleeper agent for Apocalypse. So that's kind of a
It's always going
downside.
to be there in the back of your mind because it's a part of who you are.
exactly, and that right there, that's character growth, and for them to strip that out, and then they would do like, oh, now
That's
he's
that
got this. No,
conflict.
yeah, it's good. It's good storytelling. It's
Internal
really,
conflict.
but it's a damn shame, really. But I'm going to wrap this up. Thank you for those that joined, Rodrigo and Braylon. Thanks for stopping by, guys. And Matt, thank you again for coming on. This was fun.
Man, I
Next
had a
time,
good time. Thanks for having me. Yeah.
you're welcome. You're welcome. I got to get you on with some more people next time. Maybe get Comic Perch back on. Since get some West Coasters since time zone works out better that way. I can. It's just easier to do East and West instead of East, Central, West, and then anything else. But all right, folks, I'm gonna go ahead and shut it down. I'll see y'all around next time.